This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
This is Financial Insanity, the show where we break down the crazy world of finance into simple, relatable terms. I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean, financial advisor with McLean Advisory Group, right here in Weirtown in Ocean County, New Jersey. And Scott's the man with the plan to keep your money safe from the traps and pitfalls of financial planning. And we're going to go through today Scott's book, the introduction and chapter 1. But it's good to see you, Scott.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate your idea of maybe sharing what's in the book because people don't like reading. So I figure if I can entice them to learn, I think that's the whole reason. So I am making finance a little bit less insane.
Yes.
It's out of control.
We will do our best. And if you have any questions, if you would like to ask about getting a copy of that book, Three Blind Mice, the number 609-488-4646. That is 609-488-4646. And Scott, first off, very simply, why the name Three Blind Mice? We talking about a financial fairy tale here, Scott?
I wanted to pull it in because, people remember the story of the three blind mice, and it represents pretty much traditional financial advisors who, despite of good intentions, often lead clients into a financial trap. And by the way, our audience, you may be in that trap, which is why I wrote the book. It's due to outdated methods and lack of collaboration. Collaboration meaning working with the accountant, the lawyer, and then when you do the beneficiaries, the titling of assets, they're completely clueless. And I can tell you, this is a trap that's been set. And many people listening right now, Alex, they don't even know it.
Yeah. And so Three Blind Mice, not just a catchy title, also a metaphor for financial traps that we need to avoid. Scott, let's talk about the introduction. Can you give us a little taste of what the intro is all about there in your book?
Money really isn't everything. It's right up there with the essentials of life, with breathing. I remember people at church, Scott, money isn't everything. Well, it is right up there again with breathing. And when you pay attention to it, the decisions people make and the myths, the misconceptions, the downright bad advice, no matter what goes on, we need to pay attention. And again, the introduction really starts off about the financial literacy. People are not literate. There's no really classes out there from kindergarten up to high school. And so the idea is the traps that you've learned, people have learned today, and the kids are not even getting that now. You know what? The trap has been set, and therefore there could be evaporation of money. And I can tell you, this is a problem, Alex.
Yeah. And you talked about they're discussing some common mistakes, and there's some interesting phrases in the book that many of us might recognize. And so I want to see if people have heard this before, and then I want you to discuss why these phrases are indeed traps. So here's something you hear. Spend it. I'm only young once.
Boy.
Another one. It's only 0% interest. Or my favorite, I work hard and deserve it. How are these possible traps, Scott?
They're real. And they trying to justify their poor financial decisions. I deserve it. You know what? Go spend $500 a month on that new car. But when you look at the budget, can they afford it? And all of a sudden, 2-3 years goes down the line. They bought a car for $10,000, or let's say $15,000 is a live example. And after interest and payments, they end up paying $30,000. So they use the example, well, I deserve it. I work hard. I get it. And this really is a trap. They've been trained either by their parents, grandparents, or perhaps no parents, or didn't listen to their parents. And I've noticed this, and of course it carries on. I'm an old bat right now. I guess I'm 65 now, and I can hear my dad's voice talking about money all the time, of being frugal, watch your money, and treat people exceptionally well so they listen to you. And this is the traps where I put throughout the book.
Yeah, and Scott, I want you to maybe illustrate one of these traps that we just mentioned, and after you do that, if you could, roll that into giving out that phone number for people if they have any questions about any of these traps we're discussing.
The traps you think about, number one is, where do I invest the money? I look about the areas of money. So you're taking money out, but did you pay attention to the taxes? How about the potential growth? You bought a nice stock, like we hear these AI stocks are taking off like a rabbit. And of course, you buy them, you sell them, and now we have a tax situation. Did the planner or the advisor look at the taxes along with the investments? You look at it, it's like planning a road trip, and you're just looking at it, but you're really not checking the fuel gauge. And this is where people get stranded, ending up in the wrong portfolio, the wrong advice, or perhaps maybe everybody wants growth. No one wants shrinkage. So where do you invest money? And again, that's the biggest problem. People are so attuned to looking at the right-hand side of their portfolio, the bottom right, which is, how much did I have? How much did I have last year? Well, how much growth did I have? They forget to look at, well, did I get dividends? Did I get more shares of stock? Am I taking too much money out? If you're asking yourself these questions, this is why people really should pay attention for a second advice or a review. Maybe your portfolio isn't up to snuff. Whether you're going through different times of the season, winter, snow, the heat, maybe it's elections, maybe it's the children got sick. They're not looking at the big picture. And this is the challenge, what I talk about when I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice, how your financial planning process leads your money to a financial trap. Well, this is the problem. And if you have questions, please feel free to give our studios a call at 609-488-4646. I'd love to empower our listeners to have the ability to give us a call off the air. No time, no expense, we're not going to bill you. Let's just have a 10, 15-minute discussion to see if you are in the right place, or maybe you've outgrown your financial advisor. Maybe you grew your money into retirement, but now you've failed to make that most obvious shift from the growth area to the income area so you won't outlive your money. And that's important, Alex.
It absolutely is. And as we're discussing today, the introduction and chapter 1 of Scott's book, Three Blind Mice, on the show today, Financial Insanity. And Scott, I want you to discuss something you referenced, and that's the rat race. So you referenced that here early on. What are we talking about? What's the rat race you're referencing?
I think we're all in a rat race. I mean, when you're losing weight, the rat race is, I want to have that ice cream and cake, but I know I'm trying to lose weight. And so you get caught in that rat race. In the financial world, this endless cycle of working hard, trying to make ends meet, never feeling like you're getting ahead. And just like the nursery rhyme, many people are blindfolded to the outdated financial advice and running around in circles. And I think this is so important. As you said, the metaphor, Alex, is so important because it could turn into a tremendous, tremendous problem in their portfolio. So again, when you think about it, if you're out there, this might be me. You're thinking to yourself, 609-488-4646. I don't know if I gave that number out before. I want people to feel empowered that they can call, not feel like they're going to be sold. 609-488-4646. Because you yourself could be in that cycle or the rat race, hearing the same old thing, because your advisor, probably good-looking gentleman or good-looking woman, and you've been with them for years, but you failed to ask the right questions, or they don't bring it up when you do your reviews. This is insane.
Absolutely. And it's got something else insane, too, is just to turn your back on some things that really are important when it comes to your financial picture. And there could be what you reference as the great disconnect with folks and their finances. If you would, in the book here, you talk about an 11-year-old boy named Charlie. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and how maybe there was some disconnection with this person and their money?
You know, Charlie was a hardworking young man, 11 years old. And, of course, his parents made him do work, mow the lawns, do the odd job, save your money. He went to the county fair, had $100 in his pocket, and he was so excited to go there. By the way, you might think it might be me. It could have been me, by the way. And you go to the fair, and you go there, and your friends got their money, and you've got your hard-earned money, like those going into retirement, your hard-earned money. And after going on a fancy rides, found out there was $20 gone. Now, if we equate it to numbers, that's 20%. You know what? He wanted to go on more rides. He wanted to enjoy the ride, but he didn't have enough money. He put his hand in his pocket and found out, wow, I don't have enough money. And this story came up when I was thinking about my own life and lives of clients I meet. When the market takes a left hook, you put your hand in the wallet or you look at your statement and saying, will my money last? Will my life last longer than my money? The fear of death is no longer number one. It's the fear of running out of money. And that seems to be the process when I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice, because you're not looking at the whole thing. It's almost like putting your head in the ground like an ostrich at the zoo. But what are they doing? Well, their vitals are exposed to all the whims and traps of the financial world. This is important, Alex.
It absolutely is. As we're discussing today, Scott's book, Three Blind Mice, How Today's Financial Planning Process Leads Your Money to a Mousetrap. If you have any questions, if you want to ask about how to get a free copy of the book, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just a couple minutes left here, Scott. One of the key issues you highlight here early on in the book, the importance of understanding your overall financial picture. Explain why that is just so crucial.
When you invest money, it depends on your risk and how much you can risk. Everybody loves growth. Everybody's watching the AI stocks or the growth stocks, and they see it and they feel, they call it the fear of missing out. And they forget, what if the market turns back? What if I fear missing out? I put my money in like 1928. People put their money in, and then they're devastated by 1932, 33, when the market dropped. This is a common mistake of fear of missing out. And the trap has been set. Do you have too much stocks? Maybe too much bonds, or maybe not enough bonds. When interest rates are high, it's time to cash in, go into bonds. When interest rates start to come down, you could win. So again, depending on the climate of the market, and these are common traps that are there every single time because everybody wants to sell the hype and the excitement. Everybody wants to sell the newest fad. The question is, let's stay consistent. And when people call us, Alex, the most important thing is they need to understand, what's your biggest concern? Let's talk about that. And if you have that on your mind right there, right now, feel free to give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Love to try to help you, not sell you, educate you.
More financial insanity with Scott McLean on the way.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Today on Financial Insanity, we're going to dive into a unique and powerful estate planning tool. It's called a Qtip Trust. I'm Alex Dingman, host of Financial Insanity, alongside, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Qtip, you might be out there thinking, isn't that something for cleaning my ears? What are we talking about? No, it's actually a way to clean up your estate plan, Scott. So if you would, let's get into this a little bit. Talk about this couple from one of your seminars, Robert No Funds and Martha Money. Talk about them a little bit for us, Scott.
I think this is a great subject you brought up because I know that you know several men and women. They have either divorced or their spouse died and they remarried. And this is a tool where I see so many people putting off their estate plan because they just don't know how to handle it. So I wanted to share with you, and I obviously had changed the names to protect the innocent. Robert No Funds. Robert got into a relationship with this beautiful woman, Martha. They fell in love with each other and they got married. Robert has his kids. Martha's got her kids. And the whole idea is Robert's a widower of 30 children and Martha has 2 children of her own. And Robert moved into Martha's house. Remember, it's Martha's house, and they've been together now 12 years, love each other, been together, and it's like a great relationship. And when I met these people, they didn't take care of their estate plan. I hope you're planning your estate plan. I hope you don't put this off, and hope this will jingle your brain to give our studios a call, say, Scotty, I need help. And I think this is really important. So I think everything that seemed fine until they came to one of my estate planning classes where we touched on the Qtip. And the Qtip is kind of unique, Alex, and this is what set them off saying, we better do something. It's always something that changes our mind, Alex.
Yeah.
You better do something.
Right. Well, because the idea here is, and you know, you have to think this way when you're planning is, well, what happens if Martha, you know, if she happens to pass away, what happens with her house? Would this be Robert's kids then knocking on the door, staking their claim? That's the kind of situation that this trust can help address, right?
Exactly. And the kind of scenario the Qtip really can be a tremendous burden off of Martha Money and Robert No Funds because they don't want to say who gets what.
Right.
Do you get my house? Who gets my house? Who doesn't get my house? Then you got the kids fighting mom got remarried. I know why this guy's in the house. He wants the money, or vice versa. Maybe
sure.
Robert has money and Martha doesn't have money. And this is where the relationship, the crows and the clowns show up at the funeral, and a Qtip trust, QTIP, good trust, really allows them to do just that. Protect the assets for the children, but allows the sweetie to stay at the house if he or she chooses to.
Yeah, and I think, Scott, it would be wise for us, this acronym, let's break that down a little bit, and for the listeners, just explain how this is used during the estate planning process.
That's smart. I guess I jump ahead.
That's
a Qtip is called a qualified. It's qualifying a terminable, your assets, the interest in the property, a qualified terminal interest property. So it's specializing whatever's put into this trust. This is for my children. But in this case here, Martha Money wants her husband to be able to stay in the house. And so in this case, when we look at the assets of Robert No Funds, he doesn't have a lot. So if she died, the family's instantly going to, kick him out. give me my money. Let's go sell the house and the kids and Martha's side. But then their question on the other side is, could Robert's family start to say, well, Dad's been with her 15, 20 years. He deserves something. Well, this is it's almost like a prenuptial agreement. And so this is a kind of nice way to take care of it kindly, easily, and it protects. And then again, if you want to protect it again for one more stage, which we won't go into right now, Alex, this would be the area of a irrevocable trust within the Qtip planning, making the nursing home can't even get it from Martha's children. This could be a tremendous benefit. Those of you listening who have been remarried, you haven't updated your stuff, this is where you give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. This is where you don't put things off. This is where you don't procrastinate. Procrastination is like sticking your head in the sand and all your vitals are exposed. Let's get this off the table. Daddy always said, take care of the problem before it gets worse. I want you to listen. 609-488-4646, Alex. This is so important.
Yeah, and this Qtip trust we're talking about today on financial insanity, ideal for situations like here with Robert and Martha, where each spouse, they have kids from a previous marriage. And so with this Qtip in place, Martha could ensure Robert is taken care of if she passes away first, but at the same time, her kids know that they're going to be inheriting the house eventually. So it's taking care of all parties involved. Is that right?
It is, and I learned this actually when I was really young, and I saw my best friend's father get remarried. His wife died. We grew up since I was 6 years old. We're still friends today. I'm 66 years old, and I'll never forget him. Mr. Futch got remarried, and they had a Qtip trust. And the rules of his plan was, in the event you decide to leave, or go ahead. If you decide to get remarried, you can leave. The house isn't for both of you. If you decide to get sick and disabled and have to go somewhere, fine. Or you can stay in the house until God takes you home. But meanwhile, there's a set game plan in place where there's no kids on either side of the fence are going to be squabbling, because this plan, this Qtip, is really clear, concise, and accurate. And the nursing homes can't throw you out. There's no assets on the estate. And if you want to burn down the estate, can you? No. This is a great plan for some of you out there thinking about it. And maybe you got a friend out there as you're enjoying the holidays, or maybe you're enjoying a birthday, or maybe you're enjoying whatever you're going through. Share this with your people, with your friends, because people aren't aware of this. And this is a great estate plan to protect your money, to protect your assets for your kids. If you want to pass them on, That's okay.
Right.
Great way to protect money.
Well, and I think we got to make an important distinction here with the Qtip about when it is something that can be used. So let's talk about a little bit of a plot twist here. What if I'm listening and I'm not married, but I have a partner? I want my partner to stay in my home after I pass, but then have the property go to my children. Is a Qtip still something I could use?
Okay, now you threw a right hook at me, Alex. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's your job, buddy.
I think that's a great comment. So you're not married.
Right.
Well, this would be called, in many people's minds, it's called a life estate. And for those fancy lawyers or those people want to be logistics about it, we call it a qualified personal residence trust, a QPRT, or a life estate to make it simpler. I like simple. But again, this is another tool that you could be using. And of course, you use it. It could be part of a revocable living trust, giving your partner the right to stay there for a period of time. And then, of course, they no longer want to be in the home. They want to leave. They can go. Then the children of the assets of the inheritance could sell the property. This is a great place. So again, it's called the Qualified Personal Residence Trust, or for the easy way to remember it, a life estate. When people come in, we find out if you're married, how long, and how's the marriage going on, and how is your health going on. We ask lots of questions before you can even bring up trust, where sometimes you'll meet with a lawyer. He or she's going to charge you $200-$300 to ask a lot of questions. We think that's because this is all we do is the estate planning and financial planning and tax planning. When you look at everything, Alex, it makes sense that I call it the three blind mice, the lawyer, the tax guy, and the financial guy. They need to talk to each other, but it isn't done these days at all. My field is definitely falling apart and getting more lazy. How much assets can I get, but can I really help somebody. So this could be good. Again, not a Q-tip, Alex, for those who are married. If you're married, it's a Q-tip.
Right.
For those who are not married, girlfriend, boyfriend, living together, it's called a qualified personal residence trust or a life estate.
So what if you don't use either option? No Q-tip, no life estate. What could happen to my surviving partner or spouse if I shall pass?
All right, now you're breaking out the onions. It's getting kind of dicey, Alex. Calm down.
Hey, we're trying to pull up people's emotions here on the show, you know.
Let's say you don't have a Q-tip, or you set up maybe a formal arrangement like your beneficiaries, like your kids.
Mm-hmm.
They could have all the legal rights to their inheritance and say, okay, in this case, Robert, you got to go. Oh, my gosh. Now you got a whole different bunch of scenarios. Court, throw him out. What if he's disabled? They keep him there. Now the kids are going to be paying the taxes. They got to keep the house up. And then they have another set of kids coming in, which would be Robert's children. Again, so that really could put the surviving spouse or the partner, in this case here, in a really tough position because they love that woman or that man. They love their partner. And so the question is, do the kids care? Well, maybe they do. I don't want to be cold. But frankly, it's their inheritance, and their inheritance is being stalled. What would you do out there? If you're listening to me right now, what would your kids do? What actions would they take place? Now, if you're married, you want to make sure you have the house protected from the nursing home, the irrevocable trust, possibly. But if you're married and it's a second marriage or third marriage, or maybe you are living in someone's house and you need to do financial planning and you don't have enough cash, and if your spouse were to pass away, do you have enough income? This is where the discussion is. If you're living together with somebody, when people come in with me with this, Alex, I almost treat it like two different appointments in the same appointment because he or she has their own money. I got to drill them down to find out, okay, what's going to happen if? This is where the bacteria starts to formulate, and I got to make sure we have some antibacterial medicine. Can we really fix this thing? How do we make it really easy for both parties? And this is a lost trait in my world. I can tell you, I've seen this so many problems. That's why people put things off, Alex.
Totally true. And when it comes to estate planning, that's one of the aspects of retirement planning that's put off most often just because, it's no fun to talk about. But Scott, if you would here, for people that are comfortable talking about, if they have questions, what should people do?
First of all, I would encourage you to give our studios a call and see if there's a time you'd like to pop in and meet with us if you'd like to. No cost, no obligation. Let's just get to know each other. Or it could be a simple 15-minute phone call. In this phone call, you're giving me the right to ask a lot of personal questions because I want to find out what is the right tool to use. Do you need a tool? How's the relationship? 609-488-4646 is your tool. 609-488-4646 is your tool to get to the toolbox, which is my tools. My set of tools, or I should say the government's set of tools that can really set you at ease. So when you put your head on your pillow, your partner, your spouse puts their head on the pillow, you look at each other saying, everything is okay. We took care of everything. And you move on with your life.
I love it. Next, we're going to be talking about the tax benefits to using a Q-tip. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
We are discussing a unique and powerful estate planning tool today on the show. It's called a Qtip Trust. All right, Scott, let's talk about money. Are there tax benefits to using a Qtip?
There really is. There's some tremendous tools out there. But I want to, for those who just tuned in, this is how I came about this show, because you and I are, Alex, talking about this several times and say, what's unique about your estate planning and why do you do the crazy things you do? Well, this is one rule. Robert No Funds, by the way, that's not his real name, but you can have fun with me. Robert No Funds, he didn't have much money. He falls in love with Martha Money after his wife died. And Martha Money is obviously, she has 2 children. And Robert No Funds has 3 children. The question is, where does the money go? And they've been married now for 12 years. That's the backdrop of this whole scenario, Alex, that you asked me to talk about one of our clients. This was really intimate because it was a great study. We have several clients like this. And if those of you are out there that are married, it's a second marriage, and you are wondering, or maybe a third marriage, you're wondering, how do my assets get passed on to my kids? How do I keep my assets to my kids, but I want to take care of my sweetie? This could be a great tool for those who are married, called the Qtip Trust. And so again, Qtip means a qualified personal residence trust. That would be for a non-married person, so your boyfriend, girlfriend. But the Qtip obviously is a qualified terminus interest protection or trust. So we really want to focus on these tools. And so again, tax ramifications. When the first spouse of assets, let's say that has a Qtip, and for marital deductions, of course, you can take that, but it means they're really not an estate tax planning position. Instead, they're deferred to the second spouse. So this could be a good or bad tool, depending on your situation. So let me say it again. Again, the first spouse passes away. The assets in the Qtip, the house, let's say, is qualified for the marital deduction. Again, great opportunity. This means, again, that it's not a hit on the estate taxes at that point. Instead, they're deferred until the second one passes. Now, Alex, I think you're going to be asking me some crazy question about lifetime. Go ahead. I'm sure that's the next question.
Well, and because what we're getting at here is we're trying to maximize the estate tax exemptions over both spouses' lifetimes, right? So this could result to significant savings, and you have to understand how to go about this process, right?
You really do. And if you have a tax guy or tax gal or tax team, or maybe your financial guy works with along with your lawyer, this is important to bring up. If you're not a financial client of ours, that's fine. But I would really jump on this, because here's the beauty of the Qtip. You also have the ability to set up a step up in basis. Now, a step up in basis, let's say you bought a $100,000 house. It's worth $300,000. The taxable gain is $200,000. Well, the step up in basis makes it now $300,000, so no tax. So when the surviving spouse passes, the property's value is reset at the market value. So from 100 went to 300. Now that's the real value, $300,000, which could really minimize the capital gains tax if the beneficiaries later on sells the house, the kids come in. So this could be a great tool for those of you thinking about, how do I pass my assets on? How can I reduce taxes for my kids if I can? I surely rather give my kids money than the IRS and my ugly Uncle Sam. So let's keep Uncle Sam out of the picture.
Well, and really what we're doing here, Scott, and this is your idea with every aspect of financial planning, is how can we do this, as smartly as possible? And this is really a way to make a well-oiled machine, so to speak, for estate planning. But why does not every financial advisor get into great detail about this with the Qtips and explaining this process? How come it's not talked about more?
I leave it with this easy statement. When you graduate high school, for those of you who never went to college, or for those who went to college and you graduated or got through college, to say, have you read a book since then? Have people read? And they get stagnant. They get stuck in their ways. But in the estate planning, which makes me so excited now in the business, as of today of our recording, it's almost going on 44 years, March 8th. I just love the new laws. I don't love laws, but I love having to follow them. Let's put it that way. I should say sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. But again, a Qtip planning, this helps my estate planning, my financial planning, my investment planning, and my whole team say, let's stay on top of this. And a Qtip trust, again, with blended families, how do we keep the families together? How do we put a holistic approach to your need? And I think that art is kind of lost. This not means I'm the only guy doing it or gal doing it. By the way, I'm a guy. But the question is, as a financial advisor, I believe the financial advisor that you're working with should at least be prodding you and bringing you up to date on all the latest tools that are out there. Because if they're not, it's almost like driving down the road in a beautiful car, but one of the tires flat. But you don't care. You just punch the gas and you're going to burn more rubber, obviously. You're going to spend more gas. You're going to ruin the car. And when you finally fix the tire, it could be too late. This is where you don't want to put things aside. And so, frankly, I don't know why, Alex, financial advisors aren't looking at all these details, because there's a lot of details when you're heading into retirement. Now you're in retirement. Now your beautiful spouse passes away, or your significant other or partner passes away. What kind of trust? So that would be a Qtip trust planning for those who are married. And then if you're not married, I think, Alex, you brought it up in our last segment, the life estate relationship. So how could I give my partner that I don't want them getting the house, but they get to stay in the house? How can I give him or her the right to stay in my house? Okay, this would be a great tool called the life estate or the qualified personal residence trust versus a Qtip. So our office is loving to helping you with the right decisions at 609-488-4646. I say it slowly, not to beg and bug you for your business. Our firm is solid. This is all we do. And what the excitement thing is, if I can help you make a smart decision with your finances and you start telling people about our firm, we win. Whether you decide to work with us or not. Because why? We're giving you information that you may not be aware of, but maybe it's prodding your mind right now to pick up the most famous tool you could ever use, the telephone. 609-488-4646. That's your tool. What are my tools? I got a whole box full of estate planning tools that could really guide you into making smart decisions for you, your sweetie, your loved ones, your kids, to make the assets where the crows and the clowns show up at the funeral trying to get a piece of the action. And frankly, that was not your intention. I look forward to speaking to anyone out there to help guide you through this jungle of challenges you can avoid.
Absolutely, Scott. And it's all about creating these custom comprehensive plans. And it's all part about your 3D approach. When we're talking about estate planning, it's all about the dreams, the dollars, the dynasty. And for folks like Robert No Funds and Martha Money, you have to ask yourself, do I really want to leave this up to chance? And having something like a Qtip or an estate plan, just make sure that your plans are followed through. Because, Scott, you've seen it. Families are weird. And especially when you talk about, a family where it's, okay, maybe this family was previous, from a previous spouse and the same situation with your current spouse having kids already. Right. And then it gets you can get even weirder there, where not everybody's even blood related now. And what does that mean for people with their loyalties or decision makings? And so, really, Scott, it's just about protecting people and what their wishes are, what their dreams are, and just making sure you have these things in place so that all that can come to fruition.
That is so important, Alex. And we're going to do another segment, Alex, as you just mentioned that I have, let's say you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend in your life, a partner in your life. You didn't get married. You've been together for 10, 15, 20 years, and they want to leave you an inheritance. We're going to do a segment on this, Alex, on how could the leaving the inheritance could make it non-taxable. How about that? Non-taxable inheritance. but you're never married. What is that tool? Well, for the state of New Jersey, there's a wonderful tool for those of you who want to know more about that. That is another workshop we're going to do right here at WBNJ, who's allowed me to work with them for so many years. I think it's going on 13, 14 years now. And at WBNJ, they've been so good to us. We're able to put educational workshops just like this on, and with Alex's help for so many years and their tremendous team there, we're able to put these workshops on to help who? You, to see the tools that you have available at our toolbox, at our workshop. I thank you for joining us. And Alex, you have any other questions? Because I really want people not to put this off. Procrastination is the demon.
Yeah.
The demons want you to put this off. 609-488-4646. That's the demon tamer. That's will help you. 609-488-4646. Let me tell you my bag of goodies that we can help you with.
Absolutely. And again, just real high level today, our discussion was on Qtip trusts and also what would be the situation with the life estate if you had a partner not married. So these two things just being put in place so that the assets, if you were to pass, are distributed like you would want. And again, this is all part of that comprehensive approach that Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group takes. And Scott, you would love it if they had questions, maybe they've met with somebody and they look for a second opinion. They're sitting there thinking, you know what, I've never heard of this, or I've never really discussed this, or maybe there's a detail in my life I'm not sure my advisor knows about or has addressed, and man, this could really impact, the finances in the future.
Everything.
What would you say to these folks, Scott?
I would say, out of love and concern, whether you want to give our studios a call at 609-488-4646, call your financial advisor and have your financial advisor work with your attorney. I think this is where the three blind mice comes in, how today's financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. The book I wrote several years ago is so in tune from when I first started in 1983 to current. It's a very current book, but I bring in all those years of knowledge and continual knowledge, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can tell you I keep studying, learning, going to conferences, education, and along with Alex helping me get this message out there, I would just love it to help you make the right decisions with your money, because there's nothing worse going to a funeral and you see two sides of the fence. You got one side of the fence who knows their dad or mom's about to be kicked out, and the other side of the fence smiling because they're about to get some money. What kind of poop show is that? Guys, gals, don't put this out. This is your loved one. If this is what you want, the best thing you want is to pick up the most famous tool you could ever pick up and dial 609-488-4646. Let me guide you, help you a little bit. And if we need to get together, we can do that. No cost, no obligation. But this is a way to put your head on your pillow and relax, and knowing that everything's in good place.
Love it. And remember, too, that number is also the website, 609-488-4646.com. I'm Alex Dingman. That is Scott McLean, founder of McLean Advisory Group, right here in Waretown, and we'll be right back after this. Thank you so much for listening to Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646. 4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
That's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Financial Insanity. We're having a great time as always. And in this segment, we wanted to get your questions. And so we're going to get some insights from Scott on some of your main retirement concerns and then something fun here at the end. Scott, you're going to have to be on your toes here. We're going to do a lightning round of think fast questions. So
I appreciate that, Alex. I'm excited to tell people because we've gotten so many phone calls, and thank you for allowing me to give them to you so you can curate them to what the most common questions were. So let's get this party started.
Let's do it, my man. All right. So our first question here, we hear this a lot, but what could the impact be on my pension if I decide to retire early?
Great one. Thank you, John, who wrote that. John, let me make it real clear to you. Reduced monthly benefits. Could you reduce your monthly benefits? Number two, are you banking on your spouse's income or your significant other's income? If you're not banking on your other significant income, great. What does that look like? But then you must also think about, John, what if you became disabled and you needed extra money? Could that or could that not affect you? This is a critical decision when we talk about Social Security, as well as the many pension options that you're available to take. And this is mistakes. I call this the pension trap. So if you have questions out there, anybody about to take the pensions, you definitely want to give our studios a call because this is one of the most disastrous choices when they pick the pension option. What option is the best for you? It's not a simple ABC, let's go to D. That's not the right. So please don't put that off. Please feel free to give me a call. I don't mean to throw a plug out there. No cost, no obligation. Call me in my studio, 609-488-4646. And again, thank you, John, for your call, 609-488-4646. Anybody else has questions and want to go on the air, Alex, I'll give them to you. Go ahead, next one.
Love it. As we're going through some listener questions today, another question, how does someone calculate for inflation when trying to figure out if they've saved enough? I know, right?
What kind of question is that? I mean, and I look at this, Janie, when you sent that question into us, like, that's a really loaded question because when you're trying to plan for inflation, we've just seen the rapid inflation from 2021-22, the rising of interest rates, the screaming of interest rate. We see bank failures happening because they had to buy government bonds to protect their money and they have a bank situation. Man, that was a whole poop show of challenges. So I guess slow and steady wins the race, but we do need. So in inflationary times, usually stock does better. But sometimes we've just faced this. The market has been really volatile. If you think about 2022, it has been tremendous. If you had a bond or like instruments or income type instruments, you probably lost around 15 to 20%. But if you didn't get scared and your underwear didn't get dirty and you held on, you finally are starting to come back. So be very cautious on how you invest the money and understanding the process of what investments to go into, because there are inflationary investments that we can keep up. We saw the Treasury. We had some of you out there let me know when you bought that 9% inflationary bond. That was wonderful for a little bit of money based on your portfolio. Again, you need to adapt to the situations. And again, what is your risk tolerance? Should it be higher now with the rapid inflation? Because we have to keep up with the money. And then, of course, your lifestyle has to change for some of you because you frankly can't go out to dinner maybe twice a week. Maybe it's twice a month because of inflation. You're buying this food. So again, that's a really good question. It's a really hard question. If somebody thinks they have a hedge on it, good for you. You can buy tools. I call equipment, but you can buy tools. But will it keep with the rapid inflation we have seen in this short period? I'm now 65, Alex. I've seen it in the 80s when it went skyrocketing, but it didn't do it. This skyrocket trip was faster than it was in the 80s.
609-488-4646. The number for Scott, 609-488-4646. Another question we got in here before we go to the rapid fire segment here. We're going to learn a little bit more about you, Scott. But first, a question, another one from a listener here is, when might be the right time to start planning for retirement?
Well, that is a $1 million question, and that should be the moment you start work.
Yep.
You see, if you're brand new, right out of the high school, maybe you're joining these armed services, congratulations, and you get a nice stipend, put away a minimum of 10%. That's gross. So if your income a month is $3,000, put away $300. If your income a month is $500, put away $50. It doesn't matter the numbers if you're real young. Now, if you're older and you've got to play catch up, and I had a nice meeting with the lovely couple the other day, and they said, you know what, we treated our kids, we spent a lot of money, and we did a lot of fun sport things with our child and our children, and he said, you know, Scott, we didn't really plan. And now they're starting to sock money away. I said, maximize your 401k. So for each individual person, this is very important. By putting your head in the sand, like those ostriches, your vitals are exposed to the elements of inflation, stock market reduction, or stock market going tremendously well. You have a lot of left hooks, so you've got to take your head out of the sand and say, when do I plan? Now, when do I like to meet with people? If they're older, my age group, when I work with people are, 55 and older, I'd like to meet with people at least 1 to 2 years ahead of time, worst case, 6 months. Now, for those of you that are just retired now, and you say, well, Scott doesn't want to meet with us. No, I'd love to meet with you. Frankly, this is, again, we're going to try to play catch up. We have to really maneuver things differently. But again, it's not a rushed plan. I see so many people going to financial planners, and they get this fancy 30, 40 page printout. That's good for one day. Next day, life changes. This is really important to understand what you need now, what you and your spouse, if you're married, or just you individually, how much do you need? How much does Social Security be? How much do I need to really live on? And then think backwards. What about the trips I want to take? So again, this planning is not a show up at a Pfizer's office and he does it for you or she does it for you. No, this is think through the process of all the variables, as we spoke about just early in this segment, the healthcare, inflation, Social Security, when do your pension options, they all tie together. In addition, don't forget taxes, because taxes could evaporate a great amount of earnings if taken from the wrong investment.
Great stuff today, and we really appreciate everyone who sent in questions. If you have a question for Scott and his team, McLean Advisory Group, the number is 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. All right, Scott, we're going to pivot here. You got we got 2 minutes.
You didn't plan anything? I got nothing planned.
I know. I know. I'm putting you on. You got to be on your toes here, Scott. All right.
Got it.
Which I know you can do, my friend. And so you got 2 minutes, and I'm going to just send you some questions. These are all easy questions because they're about you. Okay, you know you, but I don't want you dwelling on any of these answers because I want to try to get through as many as I can here in 2 minutes.
Got it.
All right. All right. Let's do it. 2 minutes on the clock. First question for you, Scott McLean. What's on your bucket list?
Growing my business. I want more locations. I love this business.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Making mistakes and getting so mad at myself. I got to correct them. I hate making mistakes.
When you make that mistake, what's your favorite comfort food? Make you feel better.
I had it last night. Don't tell my wife. Twinkies.
I love it. Favorite athlete of all time?
It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Watching what he came from and where he was nobody when he was in high school. Nobody wanted him, and he pulled himself up by the bootstraps.
Yep.
Michael Jordan.
Love that answer right there. Favorite book?
I love the Bible, but on top of the Bible, I would tell anybody to get evidence that demands a verdict. I needed to know what I believe and why I believe, and that was almost like a Harvard graduate law book, Evidence That Demands a Verdict by Josh McDowell.
Very cool. We're halfway through it. Go to icebreaker story. Is there any sort of icebreaker story? You don't know somebody. Is there something you like to tell about yourself or something that happened? Any icebreaker story for you?
Yes, when I got hit by a car and the car left.
That's a good one. That's a good one, because I would have questions. I'd have questions.
8 years old, and it was a life-changing alteration.
I bet. What about your morning routine? What's that look like?
Because I drive from the farm to the office, it's about a 45-minute drive, so I shower, get ready, and I have a quiet time by myself, me and my maker. We think about the day and what I need help on and just guidance.
I love it. All right, 2 more real quick. Holiday you look forward to the most?
Easter.
Oh, very cool. I love it. And earliest financial lesson that you can remember?
When I was building a huge business and the government took it away, President Biden was involved in that. The biggest lesson was what you think is stable now may not be stable later. How do you plan?
I love it. What a great message. Scott McLean right there in a nutshell in 2 minutes. I appreciate you, my friend. That is great. And I appreciate all of our listeners. Again, if you have a question for Scott and his team, that number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott, as always, good talking to you, my friend.
Thank you, Alex. You're wonderful.
And thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your week.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.